everyone. My name is Patrick. You're watching the Oilers Rundown, broadcast on the Oilers Fanatic and the Heavy Hockey Network. The Edmonton Oilers officially on their 2-week break now for the Four Nations face-off, except for, of course, Connor McDavid, Victor Arvidsson, and Matthias Ekholm representing their countries in the Four Nations tournament, but the rest of the team gets a much-needed break. We know there was a flu going through the team. They look tired. I think this 2-week break is coming at the absolute perfect time for the Edmonton Oilers. They currently sit third overall in the NHL standings with 72 points, just behind the first place Winnipeg Jets with 81 and the second place Washington Capitals with 79. And the Oilers are, of course, sitting in first place in the Pacific Division, 2 points ahead of second place Vegas. But it's not all sunshine here in Edmonton. There's a big gray cloud, and his name is Stuart Skinner, and he's putting a lot of the fan base in a foul mood. Stuart Skinner did not survive the first period for the Edmonton Oilers last night as they were taking on the Colorado Avalanche. He was pulled in favor of Calvin Pickard after giving up 3 goals in the first. Head coach Chris Knobloch had this to say following the game: "The first 2 goals I felt he could have had." Oilers insider Bob Stauffer had this to say following the game last night: "Stuart Skinner's numbers against good teams, concerning for Edmonton as well. And that is something that the Oilers are going to have to consider here at some point." Stuart Skinner's record against elite teams this season is 2-9-2. Both of those 2 wins coming over the Colorado Avalanche this season, and if he had stayed in for last night's hockey game, that record could very well be 2-10-2 right now. So, yeah, it's looking a little bit concerning for the Edmonton Oilers and Stuart Skinner against some of the best teams in the NHL, who he will obviously face in the Stanley Cup playoffs coming up. So, can we expect a move? Well, there was an interview with GM Stan Bowman the other day by Pierre LeBrun with The Athletic. I covered it in my Friday video, but here's the excerpt where they talk specifically about the Edmonton Oilers goaltending. Pierre LeBrun starts, "And finally, there's goaltending. There has been talk among Edmonton media and fans, again, about whether the Oilers need an upgrade over Stuart Skinner, which I find surprising. I'm not saying he's perfect, but Skinner helped get the Oilers to within a win of the Cup last spring. Is there even an upgrade on him available on the market? I do believe John Gibson from the Anaheim Ducks would waive his no-trade clause to go to Edmonton, so there's that. But it sure doesn't sound like Bowman sees goaltending as an area of concern." Stan Bowman had this to say: "Our goalies have been great since November," he said. "Calvin Pickard is 10-1 in his last 11 games, and Skinner's been excellent too. Based on the performance of the team and their performance individually, they've done a really good job for us. So I'm not sure where that talk comes from. We certainly believe in both of them, and we think they've been a big part of why our team has been so consistent over the last several months here." So it sure didn't sound like goaltending was a major concern for the Edmonton Oilers here going into the trade deadline. But there was a report on Hello Hockey this morning with Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell, and insider David Pagnotta had this insight.
All right, David, I'm reluctantly bringing this up because it's all in the nasty chat and has been for the first hour. John Gibson, do the Oilers make an upgrade in goal? We keep saying no. People are not happy with Stu Skinner. By the way, he was 17-7-3 since November 9th with a .909 save percentage and just under .250 GAA in that span. Can you please tell us what's going on in terms of any potential moves in net for the Edmonton Oilers?
I think there's been a recent discussion.
Oh.
Between the 2 teams. I don't think anything is imminent. I think it might have just been exploratory.
Okay.
And I don't know if this was this week or last week or what have you. I was told it was relatively recent, but more of the exploratory stage if they do go this route, because they are poking around at another defenseman. They're looking at some depth pieces. Gibson has a no trade. I don't know definitively, but I think he would be open to chasing a cup in Edmonton.
Wow.
But I don't know if I don't get the sense it's gotten too aggressively far yet, or if it will. But I do think from what I've heard that there's been at least a recent discussion to at least see where things are at. Maybe, has the price changed? Where's Anaheim's position right now? How much would they retain? But I don't think it's been anything beyond that.
I'm very surprised to hear this, but what
would because we were talking, we had played a hypothetical game earlier today.
We really did.
So what would it cost to get a guy like that out of Anaheim if you're Edmonton
or any other team?
Yeah,
I would imagine Skinner's going to be going back.
Yep,
that'd be my guess.
This is hypothetical, by the way, right?
Very hypothetical. Yeah, totally.
You.
I don't have any insight as to any of the trade discussions. I don't know what the asking price specifically is. I'm just guessing. If I'm Edmonton, I'm probably throwing Skinner back because you got to try to make money work. I'm still asking Anaheim to retain a little bit because they will, if they're incentivized to do it. But you're probably looking at that and a top level prospect, depending on and the degree of the prospect would depend on, again, how much money is retained.
That's a steep price still.
Yep.
So based on David's report there, the price would be steep for John Gibson if the Edmonton Oilers do go that route. It looks like they were at least exploring it, but as David notes here, nothing saying that anything is close or even going to happen. So I don't know. It's something to monitor here. The Oilers have another 7 games before the trade deadline on March 7th once they return from the Four Nations break, and I imagine we see a lot of Stuart Skinner in that time period, so the Oilers get their official, minds made up on the matter. Price sure sounds steep. I would not want to give up Sam O'Reilly or Matt Savoy in a John Gibson deal, so behind those two guys, I don't know what even the top prospect is that the Anaheim Ducks might want in that deal, and I don't know if I'm really ready to give up on Stuart Skinner either. I think if the Edmonton Oilers did bring in another goaltender, I'd want Skinner to be part of that tandem. I just hate to see Stuart Skinner leave Edmonton and then turn into an elite goaltender with somebody else. And it can be argued one way or the other whether you think Stuart Skinner will eventually become that goaltender or if he's already reached his peak here in year 3 in the NHL. So I don't know. I've always been a big believer in Stuart Skinner. I think he can be a capable goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers. You guys know my opinion on it. I think Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard have provided great goaltending for the $3.6 million that we're spending on them. If Stuart Skinner was making $7 or $8 million right now, I'd say he's well below performance reward for us on that. But for $3.6 million combined, I think the goaltending's been fine. With the goaltending that they have here, the Oilers are sitting in 3rd place in the NHL and 1st place in their division. So it's not perfect, as I said in other videos, by any means whatsoever. I'm not saying the Oilers have the best goaltending in the NHL. It's not even close. But I think Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard have provided a reasonable level of goaltending for what the Edmonton Oilers are currently paying for. And I don't know, guys. Are we really blaming the wrong person here? Does the blame lay at the feet of goaltending coach Dustin Schwartz? Is it time for the Edmonton Oilers to finally make a change there? So if the Oilers feel they have to go out there and get an upgrade, whether it's a John Gibson or a Karel Vejmelka or pick your goaltender, maybe GM Stan Bowman goes that course. If the Oilers do pick up a goaltender, that may be the only thing they can do at the trade deadline with their limited cap space and what other things they can move out. So it may mean giving up on Stuart Skinner, sending him back the other way in the deal for the Oilers to make the money work. So I'm not a huge fan of that for sure, but I don't know. I don't know what else to say on the matter, guys. I know Stuart Skinner's not perfect. I know Calvin Pickard's not perfect, but Calvin Pickard has definitely been elite for a backup goaltender this year. No two ways about that. And Stuart Skinner, he has to be better against the stronger teams. There's obviously no debating that as well. 2-9-2 is not getting the job done, but maybe the Oilers, if they improve the defense in front of them, can get close enough. I mean, they got to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals last year with Calvin Pickard just filling in a couple games in the playoffs, and Stuart Skinner did it the rest of the way for them. They were 2 goals away from winning the Stanley Cup last year, so I don't think you can use the argument that Stuart Skinner can't win you the cup. Clearly, he almost did. But if John Gibson does become an Edmonton Oiler here in the weeks to come, so be it. Let's see what happens. Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comment section below. If this is your first visit to the channel and you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing. for all the latest Oilers content. You've been watching the Oilers Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan.